Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. People like the lady from our first story really give smokers a bad name, and don't seem to understand that secondhand smoke really does physically affect some people. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Crazy lady blew smoke in my face. This is one of the most memorable stories that happened not even a month ago. I work at a very large thrift store chain, and on this particular day, I was outside accepting donations from donors and handing out coupons as a thanks. Unfortunately, I have rather severe asthma, so this job can be difficult for me if I work too hard, so I try to avoid strenuous work. Weekends are extremely busy and difficult, and I had a history of asthma attacks on weekend days, especially in the heat. So to my surprise and frustration, a woman was smoking in her vehicle right in the donation center area. Not only is this rude in my opinion, but it's illegal, as you're not supposed to smoke within 9 meters of an entrance where I'm from. She also had an infant in the car with her. Another time she broke the law here. So anyways, I asked this lady as politely as I can to please smoke on the other side of the building as the smoke is bothering my asthma while I'm working. She ignores me, so I think nothing of it and just accept that I'll have to work and smoke for a few more minutes, which is not out of the ordinary, unfortunately. I continue my work accepting donations as there's no time to spare on the weekends, and I totally forget about the lady in the car. Clearly, my request was not acceptable, though, as I wasn't paying attention. This lovely lady stood right beside me and snaps, "It was effing better in my car, wasn't it?" Takes a huge puff of her cancer stick and blows it directly in my face. Now, I'm not the best employee when it comes to customer service, so instead of clocking this woman in the jaw, I take a breath and call my manager. She comes running, knowing that I usually don't call unless I really need it. She comes to the lady screaming profanities in my face and pointing at me, though for some reason I couldn't help but smile. Maybe because I'm so used to customer abuse by now that I have to laugh it off. My manager politely asks her to leave, as much as she could over the screaming, until this lady decides to threaten me. Well, guess what? She got her butt banned from the store. Good job, lady. Was it worth it? Sure hope so. And I hope your life is just as good as your attitude. Honestly, this would have been an appropriate situation for you to call the police, especially due to her endangering her child's health and breaking the law to do so. In some places, blowing smoke in someone's face is considered battery. And our second story. Just because you paid me doesn't mean I work for you. This happened in 2003. I work in the insurance industry in a not very well-known profession having to do with audits. I got my start working for a small company created by my uncle, and I was with him for about 10 years. My uncle then decided it was time for him to build his dream home and move, which meant either I had to take over the company or find a new job. I didn't want to spend half my day chasing down invoices, so I elected to start a job search, and he agreed to give me some time to find a position before he shut things down. There are two types of positions in my field where you either work for a vendor, which is an independent service provider, or directly for an insurance company. Openings at insurance companies don't come around that often, and vendors don't really have the greatest of reputations, so they're basically employers of last resort. That ends the background, and now my story. Over the course of about 3 weeks, I applied for 2 positions at different insurance companies and was quickly notified I didn't get one job. The second kept saying, "We'll get back to you." Not wanting to hold my uncle up, I bit the bullet and went and applied at the largest vendor in the country. The day of the interview, I met with the on-site manager, a lovely lady who seemed to be in a bit over her head. It just so happened that her boss, the district manager, and then his boss, the regional manager, were also in the office that day and sat in on the interview. It went well. I filled out paperwork, we shook hands, and I left. Didn't hear anything from them for about a week. In that week, I finally got a call back from the other insurance company, which at the time happened to be the biggest one in the world, known by 3 initials. They offer me a position, go over details, set a start date, and I accept. The following Monday, my phone rings at about 10 a.m. I answer, and it's the lady that I had the interview with at the vendor, who out now refer to as the vendor lady, or VL. VL, "Hi, we were expecting you in this morning. Is there a problem?" Me, Pardon? VL, today was supposed to be your first day, and we thought you'd be here at 9 o'clock. Me, why would you think that? VL, that's what our records show. Me, with absolutely no irony whatsoever, I don't work for you, lady. I never heard from you guys after the interview period. No one called to offer me a position or discuss salary, much less a start date. VL, stammering a bit, oh, I had no idea. I'll take care of it, and sorry about that. Me, thanks, and have a good day, I guess. That's not the end of the story period. The following Wednesday, which is typically payday for the job that I had, I go into my bank account and see that there's an automatic deposit from the vendor. I stare at my screen for probably a good 5 minutes trying to puzzle out what in the actual hell is going on. Then I realize I'm going to have to call VL. Me, hi VL, you might remember me from the mix-up where you thought I was supposed to work for you, but I don't. Why did I receive a paycheck from your company? VL, that doesn't sound right. Let me check. She places me on hold for a few minutes, then comes back and says, well, it looks like since you filled out all the required paperwork during the interview with your application, you were accidentally placed on payroll as well. What you can do, though, is just write us a check for the payroll amount, and that should take care of it. Me, struggling to comprehend how truly stupid this whole situation is, replies, listen, VL, I review payroll records for a living, so I'm very aware that you can simply have your payroll department reverse the paycheck, which will basically zero out any payroll taxes that you paid, as well as any that were withheld from the paycheck, as well as reclaiming the small amount placed into my bank account. So no, I will not be writing you a check and be paying you to not work for you. The week after that, I start working at the big insurance company, and ironically, within 6 months, both the district manager comes aboard as a coworker of mine, and then the regional manager comes aboard in a department related to mine. No clue what happened to VL, but good luck to anyone working for her. Edit. It wasn't a scam. That vendor company's still around to this day, still the employer of last resort, and sadly is still the biggest independent service supplier for my industry. I filled out all the paperwork required for direct deposit because I was told it was necessary to streamline the hiring process. I definitely did not supply them with a voided check. Also, they did reverse the direct deposit, and I never heard from VL again, but I would get periodic emails over the next few years to see if I was interested in doing some work for them. Lastly, the large insurance company that I ended up working for was indeed run by Hank Greenberg, and I left them after 2 years for a better position about 1.5 years before the big crash. And our last story. Now I'm the HOA president. 5 years ago, I moved into my first HOA. There was drama about the lack of communication from the solitary board member / president being bad. So at the annual member meeting, they somehow got enough for quorum to vote for a new board. Everything was going to be better. LOL. Well, that newly elected board of 7-ish members shrank down to essentially one, the president. The communication was still piss poor and secretive. We had many volunteers sign up to help with things. I signed up to create a website, to share minutes and financials, but after a couple messages back and forth, I was told that wasn't going to happen. The next year, we didn't reach quorum, but more board members were appointed by the remaining president. Those newly appointed board members evaporated shortly afterwards, too, but the president remained except for one other member. Somewhere along the way, the president moved out of the neighborhood, yet still wanted to serve on the board for some reason. Fast forward to this fall, and we still have those remaining board members because we can't reach quorum. Now both no longer live in the neighborhood. This year's different, though. We received a package in the mail with bylaw changes that were already adopted by the board, and then a proposed amendment to the restrictive covenants that require a vote of the members. So the gist of these changes are adding fines and late fees, verbiage everywhere. Then saying the fines and fees will be treated the same as assessments and added to the homeowner's assessment accounts. Then in the assessments clauses, it adds explicit verbiage about foreclose for unpaid assessments. Then the icing on the cake is the proposed amendment to the restrictive covenants to take away the requirements of homeowners' vote on the yearly HOA fee and give the power to raise those fees exclusively to the board without constraint, no maximum percentage per year or anything. So the Facebook page got really festive due to this, and finally the board president finally chimes in and immediately starts raging. calling out individual homeowners not by name, but by violations that you could potentially figure out by a little digging. Anyway, it was ugly. So I created a dedicated Facebook page exclusively for the annual meeting coming up. I invited all the PO'd homeowners that I saw commenting about the changes. Then we started organizing. I got lists of addresses publicly available from the county website for the neighborhood and created walk lists for canvassing. We created 4x5 cards about the upcoming meeting. We created bullet points of what's going on so we can educate other homeowners. So for 2 weekends, we're knocking on every door in this neighborhood, collecting statuses of people saying if they're going or letting them send their proxy with us if they didn't already have a neighbor to send it with. We collected about enough proxies to make quorum all by itself. But I'm still wondering if there will be any dirty tricks by the current board or management company. But 15 minutes till the start of the meeting, half the neighborhood shows up in person. We ended up getting over 100 people in attendance with over 50 proxies. To reach a quorum, we needed 50. At this point, the existing board is nowhere to be seen. We only have reps from the management company show up. We had to move from the tiny room to the basketball court of the school for all the people. The management company was not prepared to handle the meeting. If anything, they added to the confusion. Questions about the financials were being asked that they couldn't answer, and finally it was decided to stop asking questions and elect a new board and let the board check into the financials. So now I find myself board president along with the other volunteers that also helped canvass. I'm in discovery mode, aggressively gathering documentation to make sense of this and figure out where our reserves went and why. I'm told by the management company that our immediate crisis is money. Luckily, it's the end of the year, so homeowners will begin paying their yearly dues. Great job, OP. It was the only right decision because that old HOA president could have held his position for the rest of his life. Smash that like button if you're hooked, subscribe for more HOA sagas, and share your own HOA nightmares below. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.